Okay, we are now live. Welcome everyone on Facebook land. We have an awesome guest for you, Kate Chernis, who helps Gary Vee do all his crazy content to a million different social media sites. Helped had a marketing agency before that. She created this company lately on a spreadsheet and helped Walmart do 130% year over year. Just a super amazing new friend and marketing expert in the field. And I'm super excited to introduce her. She has an awesome new company. And yeah, I think you guys are going to get a ton of value out of this episode. And so, Kate, welcome. For people who don't know you, can you give us like your 3-minute talk or of just your background and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. Eric, you're awesome. Thank you so much. We are friends already, which is like the best part of doing these things. So I should tell you that I used to be a rock and roll DJ in my other life before marketing. Did you know that?
No, oh, actually, yeah, I saw you were like a big, yeah, like you had like 2 million listeners and rock and roll DJ, and I want to hear about that too. That's because I
Yeah,
think
20 million listeners.
20 million.
Yeah,
Holy cow!
for XM satellite radio. So, I have a whole other voice that I do, Eric.
So you could do like the James Bond or like all sorts of.
Yeah, like I wanted so badly. You know how that guy who's like in a world. I'm like, why? Where's the woman version of in a world? Whatever.
That's
Because
actually
that
been
guy
one of my
makes
secret
money.
dreams is to be a voice actor. So afterward, if you can give me some tips on how to like apply for those Finding Nemo movies, or
I know, right?
here's some people on there. I'm like, I could do that. Like,
It's all the
right?
same people. That's what
It
sucks. It's
is all
like
the
a
same people.
closed thing. Yeah. But it's what's cool about radio, by the way, which is how sort of it translates to marketing for me, and how lately kind of lives at the very base of what we do, is through theater of the mind, right? So your job, Eric, today is to get through the screen or get through the headset of somebody and to make them feel like they're going along with you, like they're participating in this conversation with me and you, right?
Yeah.
And that trust. And so that's part of the theater of the mind that radio has, especially because you're just hearing it, right? But that idea of, even though you are owning the mic, that we're giving voice to the person on the other end. That's what good selling is about. That's good marketing, right?
Hmm. Never
And
thought of it like
so,
that.
yeah, I mean, it's really because trust is everything. Trust is our commodity. If you trust me, you give me money, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be there. A little more, there's other things too, but the trust has to be part of that. And in fact, loss of trust is the number one reason for lack of sales, for loss of sales with customers. So it's a pretty big, factor. So I think a lot about the things I learned in radio and how they transfer to what I'm doing now. And, amazingly, everything from leaving silence, right? So I'm doing it now.
After you tell them the price, it's going to be thirty
Yes.
thousand dollars. Just press mute. And sales, they always taught us that, and it was like the hardest thing for me.
It's
I'm
so
like,
hard to do,
if
but
it's
they
hard, I'll give
do.
10% right away. It's like,
Yeah, people fall for it. It's crazy. And like in radio, they turn it up, right? It's a whole thing. So I love looking at things that that work, whatever they are, wherever they are, and trying to figure out how to transpose them into something else, right? The metaphoric equivalent of whatever that is. And so with radio, for me, I was really good at making listeners into fans. Um, AKA customers into evangelists, right? That's the thing. And my team, by the way, so since the beginning, we've been working from home since the beginning of lately.
mhm.
So this is not a new era for us. But one thing I got really good at in radio, and then I taught my team to be really good at here, is um, translating like a hug through the internet. What does that look like? Again, that trust factor. Like, you want to hang out with me? Want to have a beer? I think you do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, so radio, there was radio, you asked that question. And then you were talking about having a marketing agency and what that journey was like. So when I was in radio, it was a boys club, like, of course, it still is.
Hmm.
And hey, I don't totally have a face for radio, yay. But I got sexually harassed a lot. I even participated in it, frankly, because it was part of the culture. Like you didn't know it was
Yeah.
wrong. It was very weird. I learned this later, but what I did know was wrong was when I wasn't getting credit for when I did something well, and I couldn't figure out like why aren't these guys like respecting what I'm doing, and why am I not getting high fives for this? I'm killing it here, and that
Hmm.
was annoying to me. And so I made a lateral move. I went to another radio related company. Same stuff was happening, and then I'm telling you the long story. Sorry, but my dad was tired of it. Eric, do you have kids by chance?
4 daughters. So I'm
Oh
I'm
my
like
god!
I'm like becoming like the most pro women's empowerment. I'm like, God, you gave me 4 daughters. I'm gonna be like, because they're gonna be business leaders, like speakers, like run for Congress. I'm like, man, like they're gonna like, yeah. And
Awesome.
so I love that you are, yeah, a female killing it, rock star, and yeah, like you said, in a boys club growing, over the past 20 years, and radio, and then Silicon Valley, that's like all these probably the same thing, all these guys like, oh, look at me, like, and then you come out there and like get funding and are able to show like, hey, my software beats out all this other, wannabes, and you're able to really dominate in that field because
Thanks.
um yeah, so I'm super, yeah, super stoked to, yeah, get more, because I feel like that's the season we're coming into, is a time when women really do need to see like, look, like my wife is a stay-at-home wife, but I'm like, look, like she's overcome depression and
Wow.
anxiety after each baby, and I'm like, look, you have so many people, as you've overcame this, you have so many millions of other women who have a baby and go into this baby blues and depression and not PTSD, but they call it's kind of like PTSD, it's called PPD.
Yeah,
And just,
postpartum depression,
yeah,
is that
postpartum
right?
depression. And so like she's now like believing in herself to get a group, a Facebook group, or make that her niche, is to help, that women in that
Awesome.
field. And so it's, yeah, I'm like, look, you're not just stay at home mom, and that like you do everything for our kids and our family, and you're like our rock, but at the same time you also have like a gift that the world needs.
It's so true. Like it sounds silly, but there are other people who, when you think you're alone in it, you feel like you don't know, there can't be a way out. But when you know that other people are going through what you're doing or have been there before and then have made it out, it's inspiring and it gives you that courage and strength. So it's so important that your wife is doing that. And it's so important to, I think the one thing that I learned was like I said before, I didn't even know the situation I was in was wrong. And I've seen that even more and more, like as I've been through venture capital, I've had other women come to me and say, hey, just so you know, what that guy is doing right there now to you, that's like not cool. And you don't even, you're just like, oh my God, that's what's happening. I couldn't figure out what was wrong. So I feel, and it's not about whining or any of those kinds of things. It's just about awareness. And even like I had a weird situation recently where another woman was like totally cutting my bananas off in a meeting and she killed my sale. And I really nicely took her aside afterwards and I was like, hey, I don't think that you realize that you did this, but like it's 98% harder for me to raise money than a man. 98% harder. And I'm white. If you're black, you're not even on the scale, right? So like imagine that. And I was like, sister, can you just, you don't have to you don't have to lie or anything like that. You don't have to do anything you're uncomfortable with, but like instead just don't kill me, lift me up. It's so
Hmm.
much easier, right? To do that. And that, by the way, Eric, as you know, is that's the way, if you think that way in marketing and in sales constantly, like whoever you're meeting, the target, like my job is to give you, my customer, a leg up, lift you up, right?
Hmm.
And what goes around comes around. It's just amazing. Like that's the golden rule. Like we find our customers voluntarily, we used to have to ask, but like voluntarily lift us up all the time now. And I'm amazed every day. So, so anyways, I'm sorry that I got lost in this tangent, but it's important.
Yeah.
Right? So God bless you and your girls. They're gonna be so psyched. I remember I was watching someone on a panel once, and he was saying how his daughter came home, and she's like, "They call me bossy at school," and he's like, "Good."
Yeah. Yeah, when I see them show like my oldest, her name is Zina Jewel, and when I see her like
Cool.
have all these like leadership qualities and like leading these kids and like, let's go do this or let's go do that, and I'm like, and I love seeing that. I'm like, yeah, she's gonna be a leader and a warrior, and like, and
That's
I
cool.
yeah, military background, and like I did I was raised kind of like very kind of like military background or like very kind of harsh. And then I thought like when I have a son, we're gonna jump out of planes, shoot guns, and then now they have daughters, they're like still the same thing. They're like love outdoors, they love just jumping and playing and doing
Hell
like
yes.
all this, all this fun stuff. And I'm just like, man, like this, it's even better.
That's
I could
great.
imagine. And also at the same time, it took away my like the way I thought I was gonna parent, like very like, oh, they're gonna learn right away, or they're gonna, be, just whatever. I don't know, just whatever you think before. And then they were just like had me wrapped around their fingers, and I just learned about like the soft part of your heart that like that just wants to teach and compassion and show love, and be not quick to be slow to anger, and be quick just to
Mm,
praise them, and do everything that I wanted as a as a kid, and be able to really try to transpire that to a daughter. And it's raising daughters is different than I think just some boys. And it's just because at me it was just me and my brothers, those three brothers, and we were just
mm.
it's just different.
Yeah, it's good, and it's good to remember like that you have that mirror on yourself. That you can see that you have that perception, and have the wherewithal to see what you're doing, and recognize it. Again, this is not just about being a good human and a good father. This goes to being, good in business, a good leader, good salesperson, like all the things we're talking about, right? This is what we were talking about Gary Vee earlier, right? And like,
Yeah, yeah.
here's somebody who is a really superhuman and walks that talk, in life and in business, because they bleed over, right? And people wonder about that, like if it should be like in social, especially there used to be all those questions. And I think now, especially with COVID, it's becoming more acceptable. I mean, I've been doing it for a long time because I can't help it. Right. And being on radio, you have this persona that you learn to communicate out there to help you feel that trust, and camaraderie or whatever. And it's not a full exposure of who you are as a human, but it's just a little bit to get somebody to connect with you, right? This is all about connection. And I'm sure when you're educating your daughters, you're trying to figure out how can you be on their level,
Hmm.
right? And that's what we think about in sales and marketing all day long, right? Is like how's the weather is like the best question ever, you know?
Hmm. It really is. Like I've heard it, like I had a quote that says like, you know, average people talk about weather, and like smart people talk about ideas. But I'm like, when I'm talking to people about something, asking the weather is just always a good question. It's like,
It's a
yeah, maybe
smart
I'm being
question.
average at the time, but it's like I'm not like asking like, hey, what's the purpose of the universe, or why, or like you're not starting out with that question, because it's just not gonna
It's too weird. You got to
it's
find the
too
common
weird.
ground
Yeah.
first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
100%.
given right now the times we're in, where a lot of people were already forward thinking, learning it, like social selling, how to sell on LinkedIn, how to sell through Facebook, like even with churches, like how to live stream your church service, or whatever, like ways to be online still, like you said, like make them feel like they're in the room with you. A lot of my favorite masterminds I'm in, they're going to these like 360i events where they have all the Zoom, and it's like a $30,000 like live stream experience, or conference experience, because the conferences are done remote, but it's still, they send you a box, and you can wave, and you can like have your mug, and like they just do all this, like they still try to make you feel like you're in the room, and it works. Like people are making millions of dollars through conferences, or women's empowerment conference, or how to marketing conference, or different ways to do it. And so with social selling, I've over the past like 4 months, I made about $10,000 online just promoting one like website funnel software. And anyways, just like learning the power of just like social selling, and just adding value, adding bonuses to your offer. What is your take? Obviously, you're huge in this because you have a software that can get it out to all these things, and get it all links back to you. It makes your brand go out there. SEO purposes. What do you see over the next few years as far as that goes, and just kind of this remote lifestyle that people want, where they're homeschooling, they want to do more from home, start their own brand, maybe start like a cooking TikTok show, who knows, like.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the great thing right now. The mind shift of what's possible has changed, and or become broader, which is great. There's just so much more acceptance, which I'm loving also. I mean, just to give folks a background, so Lately uses artificial intelligence to do two things. First, we study what's resonating with your audience, and then we learn from that, and then we help you create content that's the most likely to be shared, listened, or watched, right? That's the heady version, but the easy version is like push a button and I'll give you 100 social posts in like 1.8 seconds that are awesome and pre-vetted by
Wow.
your audience, right? So that's the easy version. But so I think a lot about AI in that context, Eric. And so, how is artificial intelligence both automating the annoying processes, but then also learning from humans in order to help deepen that connection, right? Like, so you don't want to remove a human from the sales or marketing process. Bad for all the reasons we just talked about, right? The communicating a hug through the screen, trust, like emotion, all the feeling that goes into it. But you also want to be able to save your energy for that stuff and not waste it spinning your wheels doing like, you know, the awful drone work. So
Hmm.
we've been listening to our customers a lot about what that's looking like for them. So, for example, 6 months ago, Lately was only able to do its work through basically through text. So if you give me a blog, I'll push a button and Lately we'll find like 60 social posts from your blog, right?
Hmm.
And we could then do that with video, for example. So we could take this video and we transcribe it and do the same thing. But then we heard customers be like, well, can we also have the video clips that go with the little text that you're giving us?
Hmm.
So like if you said something amazing here, Lately would find that amazing thing in the transcript, but then also cut the video quote of you saying it out, right?
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
Do you guys
when
do
we,
those little banners where it's like, and then it's like it has like can do the text? I feel like a lot of people are doing that where it's like a little cool background and it's like a block, and then the video, and then it does like it's like, you know what I'm saying? The bar is going like this, and they put the text in the thing like that.
yeah, so that's the captioning, right?
Caption,
So
yeah.
so they'll do the captioning automatically, but it also will pull out the quote and let you edit it. Let's see. Do I have a screen share? Can
Yes,
I show you? I'll
should be
just show
on.
you real quick. So Eric, oops, welcome to my Slack, everybody. You guys know Gary V, right?
Gary
So
Vee's
Gary
awesome.
Vaynerchuk, he's awesome. So Gary recently launched an entire Twitter channel fueled 100% by my AI, which is
Oh
awesome.
wow,
Um, and it's getting him a 12,000% increase in engagement.
man,
12,000. And
that's
the reason
amazing.
is because this is what it looks like, right? So Lately took, Gary gave us this keynote speak that he did. We ran it through, we automatically transcribed it, and then we went through the transcription and we have the writing model that we already built on words and phrases we know his customers will want to see, read, and hear and watch,
Hmm.
right? And then it went through and looked through those for those bits specifically, pulled out the quotes and the matching video clips, right?
Wow, that is amazing. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, it is amazing because I was doing this manually because like I had when we were talking about here, let me give your screen back. We were talking about Walmart earlier. So when I was working at the Walmart project, I was trying to think of how can we kill a million birds with one stone. We had all this content. There was just content being created left and right,
Yeah.
but nothing was happening with it. Like people would do a radio interview like this, and then that was it. There was only the pre-promo then,
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
and what are the chances you're going to get people to listen to stuff live? Like it doesn't really happen.
Yeah.
Um, and then maybe somebody would record it. Maybe this is, a dozen years ago. And then if they did record it, maybe it would land on a link on a page somewhere.
Hmm.
Now, even today, that's mostly what happens with all the technology we have, right? So instead, let's imagine that we're marketing to people how they actually digest content, right? So like whether it's music, you don't listen live to the radio probably much anymore. You digest it at will, and you binge it, right? Same with TV. You don't really watch it live. You binge it at will later. So why don't we market that way? So if you have a conference and the ones you're talking about, right? Like getting the butts in the seats is great, but it's hard. It
Yeah.
takes a lot of
Only the
work.
big guys can do it, you know?
Only, yeah, and even they're struggling too. So like if they, I was just talking to someone at HubSpot actually, even they're not struggling, but like I
Mhm.
shared this idea when they were like, oh my God. So if you had a panel, Gary Vee was doing a panel, you got to find his awesome one-liners, and you're basically using an AI to make them into memes to promote the rest of the conference or the next conference or anything
Mhm.
you want, right? Like
Yeah.
who
Because
wouldn't do
those are the
that?
ones that get those like 10 million, 100 million views, is those like one liners where like he
The
brings someone on
one-liners.
stage and like hugs them, or he does something
Yeah,
random. Like he does something like where everyone can emotionally connect with it. And then it's like 10, 15 seconds. And it's like Gary Vee's the best human in the world. Like,
totally.
and then because it's just like, but if you just show like an hour long thing of him talking Q&A, like it's like, okay, like, but you're right. That's where the power is. It's like those, it's like almost like, I mean, like when you read a book, you get like seven nuggets, seven
Yeah,
golden nuggets that really can transform your life. But and it's those are and your guys' technology brings those nuggets and like makes it can go viral and makes it where it's is able
totally.
to, everyone can link back and get more engagement and more
You're
stuff. So
hired.
that's, man, that's amazing.
That's it. You got it. It's looking for the nuggets, right? Because that's what we all want, those pieces, just like you said. And we want to reread them and rewatch them. Like, when someone sends you a great card with a one-liner on it, people do send cards. Like I've got one right
Mhm.
here. Actually, my co-founder, my co-founder Jason just actually sent me this a little while ago, and I framed it because I love it.
That's amazing.
Right? You keep these things around, whatever they are, and so yeah, that's the thing where we think I love it a lot too. Is like, how do we help people figure out what those are? So can I help make you a better writer? Because that's writing in the end is what it really is, right? And people are bad at writing. They get nervous. They, even when they are writing on social, they really struggle with finding their own personality and figuring out how to communicate that through the page,
Hmm.
through the screen, which is so interesting to me. People think that they're boring. That's their default, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm amazed at that. Who's told them that? And so we're working together. It's the human and the AI collaborating to help, get draw that light out and
So
my fans.
for someone listening out there that's saying like, man, it's 2020, like, or 2020 is almost, we have a few months left. I want to get, my message online. I want to, get on social. And they're asking, what social do I get on? How do I, like, do I post once a day? What do I do? How do I get it? Like, how do I get my message out there and like, and be confident about it?
Yeah, so that's good. Softball, well, so of course you can use Lately to do that, right? That's one way. But the most important thing I think is two things. Number one, it's always right in front of you. So if you are having a fear of the blank page and you're freaking out, chances are you've already created the content, whether it's a pitch deck or a web page or maybe a blog you wrote, even sometimes a long email that you had with somebody, but you usually have really good ideas that are worth elevating in front of you already. So that's one way to do it. Another way is thinking about the mundane, right? Like, what's something mundane? Maybe I wrote a blog already, and I need to think about how to market it. Or so what I do, Eric, is this: I have a cheat. I have this book. It's called L is for Lollygag. So
Nice.
L is for lollygag, quirky words for a clever tongue. And this is just full of weird words like contrawise, helter-skelter, whirligig, snollygoster, imbroglio, right? They're just weird
Hmm.
words. And I look here for ways to shake it up in my own writing because I need to be seen and heard, right? In real life, I curse like a sailor, but I don't really want to do that online. So I try to make up words that are hyperbole. So like I'll say, hold on to your bagels, or like, jump in Jehoshaphat, or weird things like that. And what that does is it makes me seem different, but it also communicates my voice to you. Like, I'm corny in real life. I'm a corny human, and those words are pretty corny, right? But I'm also a little edgy and off, a little off the beaten path. So all those words communicate that, right?
Hmm.
So that's one way, is just try to get ideas and don't be afraid to do it. You just got to jump, you know?
Yeah. That's a good what you said. It's like already usually right in front of you. And what a good thing is, like I like to tell people, and I've been, mentors told me, is like, is just what's in your hand? Like what do you have? And
Yeah.
so like even right now, like I told you, it's a time where I'm, just having to learn how to make money online and learn how to add value and, just offer services to, people and inspire people and help other people. And a good thing that has helped me like actually expand or do anything has been serving other people and like helping other people find their message, or show people how, hey, you can build a funnel or you can build a website, and or and start, or Facebook groups. Like Facebook groups has been big of what I've been showing. And then another thing one of our mentors shows is how to run a challenge, and that's been big right now,
Cool.
is running challenges online, like 5 days. So basically it's like a free challenge for 5 days. They taste and see what you have to offer, and like basically take you through a taste and see model for free for 5 days, an hour a day. And then by the end of it, you have, or like by the middle, you could do an offer, and then they have a few days to get an offer. And it's like basically they get a free trial, and then they get some
It's great.
breakthrough, get them small wins. And once they get those wins, they're like, man, of course I'm going to pay. I've already gotten so much value deposited. And now I'm like, yeah. And if the people who want to, stick with them, then they, and then people are that they're making a whole business just out of that. And
That's so
so,
smart. It's like the Costco model. Someone called that recently, right?
yeah,
Like
exactly.
taste.
Once you taste and see like their, chicken over there, or they're like, here's a bag,
They
you're
got
like, of
us.
course I got to, like, you just gave me a free chicken. I got to buy at least some. But
That's
it's
true.
the thing is, what is in your hand? Like, what do you have here? Like for me, I have a mic. I already have had this microphone for like 4 years. Like, why don't I use it? Why don't I interview people? Why don't I, you can interview 10 business leaders in your field and make a little mini course out of it. Like what I learned from 10, multi-million-dollar startups. Or there's so many things you could do just with what you have: Zoom, a
It's true.
microphone, your own voice, internet, Wi-Fi. Like, you know, I call this
Yeah.
my studio. So I'm like, I need to use a studio for good. Like, let me do something with it.
Right. That's back to what we were talking about before, is like that mindset of metaphorically reimagining what's in front of you to apply in a different way, right? And I
So
think
good.
that's sometimes what so I get to interview Apollo Ono tomorrow. Do you know him?
Uh-uh.
He's
Who
the
is he?
eight-time Olympic medal winning speed skating champion from
Oh,
like a couple
wow.
of Olympics ago. He's the most decorated male
Wait,
Olympian
oh no.
athlete.
Does he have a brother?
I don't know, but he's like so good looking. Oh my God.
Apollo, oh
And
no.
like
I just watched Michael Phelps, um his documentary that was actually on depression and stuff, and he had another oh no. I know
it
it's
might
either,
be, I think they were, I don't know, I can't remember. I mean, I feel like it
maybe it
was all
was
like the
Apollo.
same, but he's Apollohno. Anyways,
Oh wow.
so I'm interviewing him tomorrow, and I bring that up because so his whole thing right now is about reinvention, right? So what do you do after you're an Olympic athlete, right?
Hmm.
When people have painted you into that picture, and he's a world-renowned speaker and author, so he's been doing quite a lot since the Olympics. And
Hmm.
so he's going to talk to us about reinvention, and this, one of the questions I wanted to ask him is about just having the wherewithal to reimagine yourself in a different role, which is what
That's
you're
so
doing,
good.
right? Like, but that's where you got to even begin. So like before you get started, you have to have the vision and the self-perception to be like, oh, I can do that, right?
Yeah, because if you never think you could write a book, or you never see yourself as an author, you probably won't ever get there.
Yeah, like so that's when I left radio, my dad, I was crying all the time. I was this terrible, miserable human because I was just so unhappy. And my dad lovingly shook me by the shoulders one day and said, "You can't work for other people, and there's no shame in that." Right?
Wow.
And I hadn't imagined that yet, Eric, but my dad because he was an entrepreneur. And then it occurred to me, I was like, "Oh my God, there's another way," you know? And then that's basically I met my first investors almost the next day. They gave me $50,000 to start my first company, and they believed in me.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that didn't occur to me either. I was like, my husband
Man,
gave me a startup book and I read the first chapter of it. And then I put it down because it said, like, it was Guy Kawasaki and he was like, don't make a plan, just get started. And I was like, well, then I don't need this book.
The Art of the Start, right?
Yeah, totally.
That was my first startup book, yeah. Or an entrepreneur, yeah. I took a what is it? Yeah, it was just a startup, course, yeah, in college, and yeah, that was like the book.
It's
But
the
man,
book.
that's so you read the first chapter of that book, and it was like, don't make a plan, just get started. And then, like, how did that happen? How did you just ran into an investor, and how did
I
you pitch it?
it was lucky because they were customers and they were coming to hand deliver a product, which never happened. It always came by mail and they just wanted to meet me.
Hmm.
I don't know why. I mean,
Yeah.
I am who I am. And we had lunch and I was unedited, which is my default. I can be very obnoxious, like it's just my way. So I was saying all the things that I thought or didn't think about the music industry, and they were just like captivated, which goes to show you it's not that I'm so captivating, it's that be yourself. There's a reason people say that all the time, because
Wow.
yourself is the magnet, right? All warts and all. That's the key part, Eric, right? Warts and all. And this is a lesson I've had to continue to learn in life. Like things aren't going so well and someone reminds me, be yourself. And I'm like, oh yeah. Right.
Wow. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. So you were just being yourself, and then at the end of it, they gave you $50,000 to start your own business.
Yeah, yeah, and we
And that was
started that
lately,
company.
or that was a different
That was
company?
another music company, and then as I was marketing it, someone else came along and said, "Hey, you're really good at marketing, it turns out. Could you consult us on this project?" And that was the Walmart project. So suddenly I had a marketing agency and I was consulting the largest retailer in the world, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't come from a place of marketing, so I thought, right? Even though radio, of course, was, but I didn't understand that. And I just looked at what was happening and thought, there's a better way to do this. And I made it up and I gave them this map. And my map, as you said, got us 130% ROI year over year for 3 years. Um, and part of it was just because I came from a different aspect. I mean, I'm a neat freak. My closet is awesome. And so like organizing is a thing for me. And this particular project had like tens of thousands of participants and everyone was doing different things, and the right hand wasn't watching the left and all that. And so my brain just thought there's got to be a better way than this. So I made a spreadsheet, right?
Wow, that's amazing. So what lately does is it's kind of like organic SEO for social, to basically just bring engagement and bring people to your links or to your freebies, and they get you on your list, and then they could just grow from there, and they'll go deeper with you. And so
Yeah.
what is your thoughts on, like, everyone right now, or a lot of, like, I'm also been in the e-commerce space. Like, I started this brand called Kingdom Dominion, and
Awesome.
this piece of art, and I sold like over 100 orders, and I just like did it, just like no plan, just started it, got some designs, and just started, like, Shopify, just started doing some,
Rad.
doing social selling on Facebook. And then a lot of Facebook, over 100 people around the world on my Facebook, just like, I want it. Anyways, I
That's
guess what
awesome.
I'm asking is, like, once you go further in that to scale, they're like, oh, you need Facebook ads, you need all these Google ads, you need SEO, you need all this stuff to get your brand to scale. What is your thoughts on the paid ads versus the social selling, which obviously is what you want, because you don't want to have to give Facebook and Google all your money, and you want to be able to build your brand for yourself through the platforms itself.
Yeah, so here's a secret. We don't do any paid advertising at all at Lately, and we don't do any cold calls or cold emails. We only use Lately to market Lately, and we have a 98% trial to sale conversion. And Lauren's calendar is booked out 2 weeks in advance. We can't keep up with demand. Our leads are 96% qualified, and we can only get to 48% of them because I don't have enough manpower or woman power because I need to raise again, which is another story. But so uh, I mean,
Wow. So you the proof of concept's there. It's like the proof of concept's there, and it's like the leads, and you guys don't have to do any paid traffic. Are you kidding me?
none
So this is just 100% just like getting out there to the networks. People are coming back, and you're
doing
not having
this.
to pay for all these,
Yeah. So
pay
like
30,000 to get 50,000 rep profit or something.
No, I'm going to do this. I'm going to ask you. If I don't ask you, I'll remember later. But like, can you send me this file when we're done? I'm going to
Yes.
run it through lately. I'm going to get 40 social posts out of it, and I'm going to broadcast them once a week for the next, 40 weeks on top of all the other marketing that I have stockpiled, right? Because I'm going to unlock this. You said a lot of smart things today. I want the world to hear those things,
Thank
and
you.
yeah, I'm going to use it, right?
Well, yeah, yeah, you really helped encourage me, Kate. I know you got to get going. Want to honor
Thanks.
your
I
time.
do. I got to go to the chiropractor and get my back cracked.
Well, yeah, just speak healing and live to your back, and
Thanks,
when you
Eric.
get to your chiropractor, it's just gonna have a lot of peace while you're there.
I'm
But yeah,
psyched.
just yeah, I was super excited. You gave a lot of value, and I'm super excited to connect with you more later about lately and seeing hopefully how we could help learn more about this, and I want to tell the world about this. I feel like I just opened up Pandora's box of like in my imagination. Cause like you said, like I'm just like a dreamer and visionary. And like, I've always been a, right brain. I always called myself like a creative genius, right brain, even though in school, I flunked out of community college twice in math, mainly just math, flunked out. I ended up
Math
after the,
sucks.
yeah, math. I'm like, and I never in business math, I'm amazing. But it's once you do all the letters and like some of my dyslexia will like mix up the letters and numbers, and then I'll write this full page of that stuff and I'll get it messed up. Anyways, long story short, like I've always called my, even though like the traditional schooling thought I was like stupid or whatever, I've always known I was a creative genius, and like I want to see how we can connect and help help in the future. So
I'm glad I know you. Definitely follow up about those magical things we talked about. And
we'll do.
Okay, cool. Rock and roll, Eric.
All
Cheers.
right, bye, Kate. Enjoy your rest of your day.
Thanks.